Good afternoon, everyone. Allison Skyberg here, Consolidated Planning Group. We are happy to be here with you today. We are here with Shelley Crowder from My Possibilities, and we are going to be learning all about My Possibilities today. And I have to say, I'm super excited about this webinar. We haven't done this before, and I had the distinct pleasure of kind of touring and looking around at My Possibilities about a month ago on a big event that they had, and speaking to their group. And there's some pretty exciting things going on over there at My Possibilities. So I'm excited for this. I know that we work with families all of the time that are looking for solutions after high school, and this is an awesome one. So we're excited to hear about that. I always just like to talk about our little housekeeping items from the very beginning. We are in webinar mode today, and so in case you're wondering, we can't see you or hear you, but we know you're here, and we are glad that you're here. We had 2 write-in questions today. We always invite people to put their questions in the chat box, and we're going to answer as many questions during the time that we have together. We're going for an hour, so if you're planning your lunch or your day, we will be done in an hour. Everybody is going to get a copy of today's slides and a link to the recording. I always like to mention that at the beginning to save yourself. You don't have to write notes on everything you hear today because you are going to get the slides, but I'm sure there'll be some important points that maybe aren't in the slides. For those of you that have joined our webinars in the past, welcome back. We are glad that you are back with us. For those of you that are joining for the very first time, Consolidated Planning Group is a holistic special needs financial planning firm. We're nationally certified as Social Security advisors, members of the Special Needs Planning Academy, and chartered special needs consultants. Our whole firm is nuanced on planning for a loved one with a disability, for the future of that loved one. And I myself am a parent to adult kids with disabilities, so we both, I would say that I eat, sleep, and breathe this. And some of our webinars, our webinar series in general, really just came out of my own frustration on why everything that we do as a parent with a loved one with a disability, why is everything so hard? It is hard. It's not you. You are not alone. And it is really, really hard. So we have the Consolidated Planning Group YouTube channel. There are over 500 webinars on planning for special needs. If you can think of a topic, we've done it. We talk about guardianship and special needs trust and public benefits and knowing when and how to apply for them. We talk about Medicaid waivers, you name it, it's out there. So check out the Consolidated Planning Group YouTube channel. You can subscribe to that for free and have that information at your fingertips. We're always happy to provide you a copy of our slides. So if you go out to the YouTube channel and you listen to one that maybe you didn't attend live and you would like a copy of the slides, you can simply email us and we'll send that over to you. So we help people put protection plans in place, lifetime care planning, transition planning. We help set up ABLE accounts, and we do a lot of advocacy. And we always just share with families that it is important, whether you work with us or you work with somebody else, to work with a specialist when it comes to planning for your loved one. Everything that we do matters, and we can make missteps and accidents and have money in the wrong buckets and lose eligibility for state and federally funded programs. And it's really important that we maintain that eligibility. So we just want to mention that. So developing a future care plan now will answer a lot of your questions in the future. We always encourage people to think about these things and talk about these things and be intentional about these things while you're of sound mind and body, not waiting for the crisis to happen, an early death or a disability or something that came that was really unexpected, because life is full of uncertainty in that way. And so what we're talking about today, some of the things when we talk about planning is, considering what are those post-high school educational and vocational options, transition programs, things like that, post-high school. What we have found is that our loved ones, they need community and friends and jobs and importance, and a lot of those things can be found in some of these programs, like the program that we're talking about today. But what we think is not necessarily good is when we have a loved one that finishes high school and they come home and they sit and they don't they don't have interaction with their peers, and they're not in a program and things like that. That also makes it harder long term in the future whenever we're not able to care for them anymore and they may be looking at placement in the future. when we've kind of done a little things a little along the way, like, transition programs or some of these camps or some of the programs like that, it makes the transition later when we're no longer here a little bit smoother. So we think planning early on that is really, really important. So having said that, I want to get to your awesome My Possibilities, and I want Shelley to just take over and tell us all about what you guys have got going on. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely, Allison. Thank you so much for having me today to talk about all things My Possibilities. Like Allison said, my name is Shelley Crowder. I am the Chief Program Officer at My Possibilities. Just a little bit about me and how I got here. I spent 20 years in public education, most of that in special education. All the way I started working with 5-year-olds and ended my career working with 18 to 22-year-olds. So I kind of got to see this journey of families and students with special needs kind of all along the way. And really at the end of my time in public ed, I was really interested in what does come next. And I know that that is what families are always thinking about. We talk about the cliff that happens after public education, after students age out. And I really wanted to be able to help my students that were now aging out into their next steps and learn more about adult services. So I've been with My Possibilities since 2023 and have really just, my eyes have been open to the amazing opportunities that are out there for our adults that My Possibilities is offering. And I'm super excited to talk with you about that today. So let's talk about who we serve. So My Possibilities serves HIPsters. We don't call our individuals that we serve clients. We call them hugely important people, HIPsters, because they are hugely important in our world, as I know that they are in yours. Every HIPster is an adult with an intellectual or developmental disability, and we really are here to provide them whatever opportunity they are looking for to live their most fulfilled life. And that's really the goal of our day-to-day and what we're offering at MP. Our HIPsters range from age 18 up into their 70s. So kind of that graduating from high school age, and there is no age out. And our goal at MP is really to help our HIPsters stay with us as long as possible and age in place. We know how incredibly important that is to our HIPsters, but also to families to know that they have a secure, stable place where their HIPster and their loved one can continue to learn and grow. A little bit about our mission. Our mission is the relentless pursuit of full and untapped possibilities for all HIPsters. So what does that mean? That means at MP, we don't focus on limits or limitations. We only focus on what is possible and really what does that individual want for their own lives. And we've built an entire program, an entire organization around our ability to help make that happen for our HIPsters. That the mission drives every single thing that we do, every single meeting that we're in, every decision we're making really is guided by what doors, what opportunities, what can we open for the individuals that we're serving that's really going to help them grow in education, if that's what they're wanting, job skills training, their health and wellness, and having access to their community day to day in whatever way they want that to look. Let's talk about the need just a little bit. So we know this living in Texas. Texas is very poorly funded. That's not a secret to anyone, unfortunately. But let's talk about that our adults with IDD make up 4% of our American population, but in North Texas, in the area that My Possibilities is, we are looking at about 206,000 individuals with disabilities that live in North Texas. 52% of adults with IDD leave high school without a diploma. 62% of parents with adults with IDD don't have a plan for the future, just don't necessarily know what's out there or what next steps to take. 4% of adults with IDD obtain competitive employment. 4%. That is something I'll talk about a little later, but that's a number that needs to grow. And I know that you agree. In most every measurable way, Texas ranks at the bottom in funding and services for individuals with disabilities. And part of the way MP is trying to meet some of these needs is in who we're serving in our local community, and then ways that we are working to serve outside of our geographic location. So outside of kind of the Dallas Metroplex.
So we have a question. Do you have many students who are ASD, and how do you deal with students who are prone to disruptive outbursts or inappropriate behaviors?
Yeah, that's a great question. We do have lots of HIPsters that have autism, and that do struggle sometimes with dysregulation, disruption, and what some people might call inappropriate behaviors or maladaptive behaviors. We have a therapy team that works very closely with our HIPsters. So speech therapy, behavior therapy, occupational therapy that work to support skill building in these areas. We know that these are communication deficits. That's what we believe about behavior, and dysregulation. So there's some need that is not met. And so our therapy team, our instructional team within the program work together to really help support skill building and meeting those whatever need is not met at the time. We work closely with families around that. We have family meetings if we're seeing some type of behavior that needs to be addressed, and really work as a team to support that HIPster and their growth and their ability to be in the program and be successful and feel successful.
Thank you. There's another
Yeah.
question in here that I wanted to address. I know this is after high school, but I'm wondering what alternatives there are to middle and high school. My son is profoundly autistic and has been kicked out of costly ABA, and I need him to know how to brush his teeth, how to use his AAC, how to use a spoon and a fork, and the school just doesn't seem to prioritize life skills. He's only in fourth grade, but I need a plan. So one of the things that I would say is that I've seen some of our families that have other kiddos that would be considered profoundly autistic and have many, many struggles. And where I have seen some success is there are some private, basically all day ABA therapy schools. And the interesting thing about some of these programs is that they take group health insurance. So the out of pocket expense, because some person might saying, well, that sounds good, but add me to the list that can't afford private school, you know. And I know that it is an expense, but some of these programs do take health insurance, and because of the profound need of the child on the spectrum, their therapy hours are much greater than their educational hours because they do need those skills. So there are services out there, and I also do understand, because since we had a kind of talk about a behavior, that a lot of our kids on the spectrum are with an intellectual disability. Not all, but a lot of families are dealing with tough behaviors, and some are aggressive or violent. And there are, we talk about like an acceptable risk or whatever. Like, I think each school, each transition program, each residential living, place, they have an ideal, this is who we serve. Like, and what I've seen, because I sat on the board for many, many years for a special needs school. And what I saw is that when we defer from our, this is who we serve, and we make exceptions, then it goes badly for the staff, it goes badly for the other people that are involved. So being clear on who you're talking to and who they serve. And I would also say, as embarrassed as a parent might be on some of the behaviors and some of the other things that are going on, Don't sugarcoat them. Be real and be honest about them because they're going to come out, right? And it's going to come out because I think sometimes people lessen some of that because they don't want to be told no again or, turned away from something. But don't be discouraged. I just want to say again, you're not alone. There are definitely other people on here that has experienced the same thing, and there are programs out there that definitely take insurance.
Yeah.
So I see that somebody put behavioral innovations in there. I'm trying to remember who behavioral innovations, somebody was somebody else before and they changed their name, and that might be the one that I'm thinking of. But there are several programs, and you can one off with us and we'll get that information to you. Shelley, do you have anything that you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I will just say most of the time that I was a teacher and a behavior specialist and all those kinds of roles that I had, I worked with severe and profound. That's my background. And I would say, yes, if you're sitting in public school, they're going to be pushing to address TEKS and they're going to be pushing in that IEP to address academics. There are a lot of ways to address academics that are also functional and address activities of daily living and address behavior, which often needs to be addressed before academics can ever be approached. And I would just say, as I know that you guys are, that are families here, be a strong advocate for what the individual needs are of your child. It is an individualized education plan. It's called that for a reason. And I would just say, stick to that. You know your child, you know what their needs are. You have the right to sit in that meeting and advocate for the goals that you feel like are important. And sometimes that's intimidating. Sometimes that's very difficult. Those aren't always fun meetings, but the collaboration that can come out of that really does benefit students. So if you're sitting in a situation when you're at the table in a public school and you feel like you're getting pressured, just stay strong. Functional living skills are very important. And as our students and our children are aging into adulthood, we know that these are things that can make or break their access to programs in the future, access to their community, extremely important for those needs to get met.
Shelley, I just wanted to comment that we've had a lot of webinars over the years. So it's on the Consolidated Planning Group YouTube channel regarding like IEPs, 504s, the ARD meetings. And I also wanted to mention clearly there are educational advocates that you can hire and pay for that will
Yeah.
go in with you with those into those ARD meetings. But there are also a tremendous amount of free resources through Partners Resource Network. I'm sorry, I was thinking of Texas, but it's Partners Resource Network. They have a lot of free resources and help with those. So if you're not wanting to hire a private advocate that could be expensive, there is definitely help. You do not have to go it alone. So just know that, and you definitely have rights on that as well.
For sure. Awesome. Those are great questions. And definitely things that we see at MP and as students are graduating out of their school setting and families are looking for what comes next. That's exactly why MP exists. MP was founded in 2008, but in 2007, there were a group of parents whose children were graduating from their public school district here in our area of North Texas, and they just didn't see what they wanted as the next step for those children. So they all met up at a Starbucks one day and they started mapping out what those things were. What were they looking for? They were looking for continued education for their HIPsters, not a place for their HIPster to just sit and mark time. They were looking for vocational and job skills training opportunities that they didn't see in the area. They were looking for residential solutions that definitely were not on the horizon. And so they started planning what would that ideal setting for their children look like. And so in 2008, My Possibilities opened its doors, serving 10 HIPsters. And now we have grown to serving over 500 HIPsters monthly, yearly, to really meet those needs on more of a day-to-day basis.
Can you tell
So
people where you're
yeah,
located?
yeah, we're in Plano, Texas. Sorry. Yeah, we're in Plano, Texas, right outside of Dallas, if you're not familiar with the area. Um, so that's really where all of this started. We have added since then, we've added therapies, like I mentioned before. In 2013, they moved into a second building. My possibilities quickly grew out of that space. And in 2018, moved to our campus of higher learning, where we are now on a 20-acre campus in Plano. In 2023, we opened our Employment Innovation School, which is our educational environment that's solely focused on job skills and vocational job training towards competitive integrated employment. So that's kind of the history of where MP started and where we are now. All right, so a little bit about our programs. So what I think where to start is kind of what makes my possibilities different. What does that programming look like that's different than another organization that you might be familiar with? It's really about choice. My possibilities is founded on that the HIPsters' choice and their their rights to make decisions, their voice in what happens in their day-to-day is really the most important thing that we could be focused on. And so over the years, my possibilities has worked very hard at making sure that those needs are met and that we are offering up those opportunities for HIPsters to really just do whatever is meaningful to them within their day, within their week, and while they are with us. So some of our programs include our lifelong learning program, which is all about continuing education. That may be academic learning, that may be interest in the arts, music, theater, dance, those kinds of things, visual, tactile art, independent living skills, pre-vocational training. Kind of, if you can imagine it, we probably offer it at My Possibilities. We offer over 100 different classes that HIPsters can choose from across the year. So lots of opportunities for HIPsters to explore new things, continue to learn and be active in things that they really enjoy day to day, and opening up community access as well. All of our programming has a community-based component. Our lifelong learning program and our employment innovation school offer offsite opportunities that HIPsters are wanting to be a part of, so that they can learn more about their community and be more integrated into their community. We also offer an MP Online program. And we have HIPsters that come to MP in person some days of the week, and also participate in our MP Online program at home. That's with a live instructor. He is one of the most dynamic, engaging people that you probably have ever met, and truly makes that online program very interactive and engaging for our HIPsters. So we have HIPsters in our DFW area near Plano that are participating in that, but also across the state. One of our HIPsters that participates is down in the San Antonio area, actually. So even if that HIPster can't access our campus directly, there's an online opportunity as well. We offer clinical services, so all of those therapies that I mentioned before: speech, occupational therapy, music therapy, behavior therapy. Our employment innovation school, that's all about job training and working towards competitive integrated employment, is a part of programming. We have a career services team that works with, that has certified employment consultants that are supporting our HIPsters. We have campus life activities, which is our respite activities that are kind of those extracurricular things: dances, movie nights, Special Olympics, all of those kinds of activities. And we also have something that we've just started doing within the last year, and that's opportunities to serve ages 14 to 22. So I mentioned that age 18 is where our traditional programming starts, but we have started providing some opportunities through our pre-employment services activities, pre-ETS, you might hear it called, for ages 14 to 22. And we're looking at ways to expand that programming in the future so that we're really providing families an opportunity to get connected, to learn more about adult services, to kind of dip a toe in the water before the cliff comes when students are aging out of school.
We have a couple of questions. One person asked, have you guys thought about expanding in San Antonio or partnering with Morgan's MAC, the MAC program, the Morgan's Wonderland Multi-Assistance Center, or at least something in San Antonio? You said some expansion. I'm always a fan of, don't overpromise, because I know
Right.
it's a big undertaking, like to get this off the ground. And I would personally just like to say, I want you guys to go tour this because this place is awesome. It will exceed your expectations. You can't even imagine. So when I saw it and the vastness and the acres and the buildings and how well thought out everything is, I know that a lot went into that to get there. So talk to us about that. And then that after that, the other questions are, the important question is cost. Do you, offer the ISS for host homes? Like, can you still receive HCS? So they had some questions, kind of surrounding that. And I know you guys have some unique and awesome doors that people can go through, at My Possibilities. So I want you to share about that as well.
Sure. So in terms of expansion, that's always something that's kind of at the forefront of our mind. How do we support what we have now? And then also understanding how great the need is across the state. So while that's not, something that's solidly in the plan for right now, that's definitely something that's on our radar as we just continue on our journey as My Possibilities potentially for the future. And like I said, one way we're trying to serve that need is through our MP Online program. So if you don't live in the area, that could be something that you might be interested in and want to check out with us. And I'd be happy to answer questions about that offline for sure. In terms of ISS, we do accept HCS waiver, class, our lifelong learning program and our employment innovation school are ISS programs. So day programming before those names change to ISS. So there is funding for that. Let's see, I'm looking at a couple of the other ones. Houston would be the same as kind of San Antonio, looking potential opportunities in the future, but nothing on the plans right now. We do not accept traditional Medicaid right now. So like Star Plus, Superior Star, private insurance. That is also something that we are potentially looking at for the future. What would that look like for us? What would we have to do in order to establish that at My Possibilities? In
So
terms
it's
of,
basically Medicaid waiver that you do
yeah,
accept is,
yep,
and I
Medicaid.
think sometimes people are confused. It is
Yeah,
confusing. There's like 109 Medicaid programs in Texas, so they're not all the
yeah,
same. The Medicaid waivers, this is the ones that probably many families aren't getting. You may have been on the waiting list for a really long time. Maybe you're getting close, or maybe you are getting a waiver. I mean, clearly we have somebody on here that is getting a waiver. But I think at this point, because of the funding that Shelley was talking about, the lack of funding,
right.
with the state, more people are not getting waivers than are getting waivers. It's kind of the nature of how it is right now.
Yeah, definitely. Um, in terms of residential, that is something that we are currently working on through potentially a host home model. Those are individual, obviously, conversations that we can have. We would love for you to reach out on our website. You can get connected to our residential services coordinator, and he would love to have a conversation with you about what your particular residential needs are. and ways that we might be able to support that. So that's another way that we are working to support our HIPsters and other families in, in the area for sure.
So the bottom line is no residential now, but residential is definitely on your radar and on the horizon. Long-term plan is building that out, and there are plans and groundwork in process, basically.
Definitely. I would
Okay,
definitely say it just like that.
cool.
Yeah. Okay, so a lot of the questions we get is how does somebody get connected to My Possibilities? So the starting point for that would be through our website. Whether you are just kind of trying to decide what are your options, or you're ready to really look at enrolling in that admissions process at MP, we encourage everyone to attend an open house or attend a tour. Go through our website. There's lots of information there about the different options for programming and what that looks like. But I think a tour is really the best way to kind of get the feel for MP. It's really magnetic there. I'd love for everyone to come out and learn more about it if it's the right fit for you. And we would love to have that conversation with you. After people kind of have a tour and make that decision, we have a pretty typical enrollment process. There's an application that you would complete. We do an in-person interview with both the family and the potential HIPster, just to get to know each other. We look through funding. We talk about that, talk about scheduling. What would that, how many days a week are you interested in? Those kinds of things. And that's really when you're going to start talking about what funding sources do you have? If you're private pay, I see some questions about private pay in the chat. That admissions team is really going to be able to answer those questions based on your individual circumstances and the schedule that you're looking for. And then as you're going through that process, you're going to talk about programming. Are you interested in continuing education for your loved one? Is that what your HIPster is interested in? Are they interested in job skills training, moving towards competitive employment, or both of those things? We can have that conversation and talk through what would that look like, and really help you and the potential HIPster make the best decision for them and for their circumstances, for your circumstances. They'll talk about wraparound services, so therapy, online programs. We also offer personal training to hit some health and wellness and nutrition, those respite programs, Special Olympics, all of those things. Our admissions team will answer all of those questions for you and help you, again, make the best decision that's right for your HIPster and your family. Like I said before, we also have our career services team, and some individuals that come to us, maybe they're not interested in full programming, but you're needing some employment consulting, you're needing some career services, some supported employment. We can also do that too. You don't have to be a HIPster in the lifelong learning program or in the employment innovation school to access our career services program and the knowledge of our employment consultants. So that may be the path for you and your potential HIPster as well. And so I really just encourage you to start with that tour, our website, our admissions team, so that they can walk you through all of those such individualized decisions that you would be looking at as a family. So just a little bit more about our clinical services team. That is a service that we offer at MP to HIPsters and non-HIPsters. So even if you're not a HIPster, you can come and take part in therapy at My Possibilities. Behavior therapy, music therapy, occupational therapy. We have social skills groups, all different kinds of social skills groups depending on what the need is. We have guys groups and girls groups and mixed groups. We also have our speech therapy team that does one-on-one therapy as well. So really wanting to provide that support, that skill building, those wraparound services for whatever individual needs are for that hipster or that potential hipster. We also, there's an evaluation process that goes along with those clinical services, very much like you might be used to if you're coming from a school setting. There's an evaluation of need, and then goals are developed. And so that we can make sure that your therapy time is really specific to what that hipster's needs are, and that we're hitting all of those skills that need to be addressed. And then a little bit more about a career services team. That's that vocational education piece. A lot of our HIPsters that are in our employment innovation school, which is our vocational and job skills training program, also are a part of our career services program. So that's one-on-one employment consulting, job coaching, traditional supported employment if you are familiar with that. Job development, skill development, and job placement. So our employment consultants are certified to provide all of those services, and are really excellent at what they do, really care about the outcomes for these hipsters in job placement, and really helping that hipster fulfill their goal of whatever level of employment that they're wanting and that they're ready for. And then you've heard me mention our Employment Innovation School a few times. So that really is our very targeted job skills training program. We provide several different pathways towards employment and several different levels of programming. We have pre-vocational programming that is really meant for those individuals that are just learning about work. They know that they're interested in it, but they don't have a lot of experience so far, and really are wanting to start building some readiness skills. Then we have our general vocational program that is meant for those that have some skills but are looking to shore those skills up in a few areas. Sorry, for career services, there is no age limit. No. You can start with pre-employment services at age 14. Most of our individuals are starting at 18 and above. But no age limit. But our general vocational skills training is really helping target if there's some specific skill deficits in work-related areas. We're offering classes and hands-on experiences in those areas. Many of our HIPsters already have a job, but are taking those general vocational classes so that they can either advance in their job, or there may be a different industry that they're interested in, that they are wanting to pursue. And so these classes are built to provide that level of support. And then we have industry specific tracks. So when we were developing the Employment Innovation School, we consulted with organizations in our area that really helped us identify what is the employment need on the organization side, on the business side of things. And then what are those entry-level positions that we would be looking at getting our HIPsters started in. And so we identified 5 tracks, is what we call them: administrative track, culinary track, facilities, hospitality, and retail. So as a part of that bigger picture of job skills training, we have these 5 industries that we are providing specific 9-month-long courses to support entry-level competitive integrated employment in those areas. So that looks like some classroom time to learn about that industry and to start building some skills, and then a lot of hands-on instruction, both on campus at My Possibilities and off-site in our corporate partners organizations, to build those skills so that when those HIPsters graduate from that 9-month program, they're leaving with the skills that they would need to get a job in an entry-level position in one of those areas. They also leave with certifications. We have worked hard to identify certifications that we can build into those different tracks. So if you're in culinary track, for instance, which is one of our most popular tracks, our hipsters are leaving that track with their food handler's license, their Texas alcohol beverage license. So not only can they serve food in a restaurant, front of the house, back of the house, they can prep, they can do all of those things. They can also serve alcohol if that's part of their job requirement. There's not a limitation there for them, and we work with them on all of those areas. We're focusing on that career readiness, job placement. We work with our employment consultants to help with job placement as our hipsters are graduating out of these 5 industries, so that there's no gap there in services. We've provided the instruction, we provided the internship opportunities, the hands-on experience, and now we are providing the job placement piece of that as well. All right, MP by the numbers. This is just a little more information about how we're serving. So currently we serve about 627 hipsters through all of our programming at MP. About 431 hipsters in our lifelong learning program, 117 through our employment innovation school. We have many hipsters that do both programs throughout their week. We provide over 8,000 hours of clinical services to our hipsters. We have about 41 hipsters enrolled in MP online programming. And then it walks you through the numbers through our career services team, our MP in motion, which is our personal training, and then our community-based instruction. I think community-based instruction is something we do really well at MP, and we are very purposeful about. So community-based instruction is all of that time that our hipsters get to spend off our campus and integrated into their community. We offer so many of those opportunities that are intentionally built into the week for our hipsters, depending on the classes that they've signed up for. And it may be focused on exploring their community. It may be focused, if they're in the job skills training program, going out to different organizations and learning about the different jobs that are there, meeting HR staff at these different organizations, and some of the staff kind of starting to get integrated into those businesses. And building those connections. But really, it's just about opening the doors to the community, and not, there's no limit. We don't want our hipsters to just be on our campus all the time. That's not the point. The point is to give them access to a meaningful day and meaningful access to their community. Something else that I think makes MP special that I haven't talked about yet is really just how do we provide that choice in programming. So we have semesters at MP, and each semester hipsters and their families are able to give input into what classes they want to take during each semester. So we don't dictate that to them. That's their choice. So semester to semester, we let families and hipsters know these are the classes and opportunities that are going to be offered this semester. And they get to choose and give feedback on what they want their day to look like. So very much like at a college setting, they get to have input in building their day. They change classes throughout the day. They don't just kind of stay in one place learning all about one thing. And I think that is really what sets MP apart, and also what has given our hipsters the opportunity to grow in the ways that we've seen them grow. Their day is very meaningful to them. They're getting to do things that they're interested in. They're getting to interact with different instructors and different hipsters throughout the day. And it really is just, it gives them ability to expand what they're exposed to, and again, what their day looks like for them.
So we had a question from a person who said that this was a write-in, that their child is still in school, and how can I get supported employment? And you may have seen in the chat box, they were talking about TWC, which is Texas
Yeah.
Workforce Commission. also Workforce Solutions, which they kind of work hand in hand. They've got two different names. It's mostly confusing to people.
Right.
However, so what they're speaking about is vocational rehab, VR. There are coaches, there's pre-employment training services. That comes from the other side, not the VR side, but pre-employment training services, summer earn and learn programs, and most high schools have a VR counselor. So if you talk to the guidance office at the school, they should be able to identify who the VR counselor is assigned to the school. But you don't have to go through the school. You can go on the website Start My VR, and you can self-submit and get connected to VR that way. And I would say it's a mixed bag. So we've done a lot of webinars on vocational rehab and how to get signed up. And the cool thing about it is you can get signed up as early as age 14 for your kids. So it's not 16, it's not 18, as early as 14. And if your kid's already 16, it's not too late. So you didn't miss the boat. You can still do this. But so there's definitely programs, definitely check on it. And then I guess what I would say is, like many organizations since COVID, there's been a lot of fluctuation with staff and budget cuts and other things like that. And so we've had families that have had amazing experiences through the program, and other families that said that they could never get anybody to call them back, or we did all of this and then we never got a job, or some of those things. But I would say, just like Shelley was talking about, being persistent, like with the school and the arts and, the services and the supports that you need in the school, be persistent with your communication. If you are a younger group and you're not ready for My Possibilities or a place like that yet, just know that there's definitely services, and these services are state and federally funded programs. They have deep pockets. They got to spend their money to keep getting the money. So these services are generally provided for free or very low cost depending on the family's income. So I just wanted to mention that. Did you want to add to that as well, Shelley?
Yeah, I would just say, obviously, like Allison said, some areas do this better than others. But there should be a VR counselor connected to your area. There is one. So pursuing that is beneficial. Pursuing that early, like Allison said, it is 14. I would encourage you to get that started then. But also, if you're just now finding out about this and your individual is in that transition 18 to 22 age, or even post that, it's not too late. It's never too late. I would go ahead and get connected. That's a funding source that you can access. The other thing to know about TWC is that you can request who your vendor is. So for instance, My Possibilities provides supported employment and job coaching. You can say to your VR counselor, we would like to work with My Possibilities as our vendor. So we would like to connect with them for pre-employment services, that pre-ET services that I was talking about earlier. You as the family get to do your research and due diligence, and then it is your decision. So I would encourage you to do some research and
I just want
decide
to
what
pause and say, and that
works for
means
you.
that TWC might pay for the services that your kid receives at My Possibilities. So
Right.
that's the why behind it. And then I also wanted to say, um, some counselors are great, and some, again, I think they have a big caseload. So I'm
Yeah.
not saying anything ugly, because I've met some really wonderful counselors
Yes.
at TWC. But I do want to say that if you're not clicking or you're not connecting with your counselor before you throw in the towel and give up, there are team leads and supervisors, and you can politely ask to be reassigned to somebody that's going to make this happen for you, and kind of work with you. So don't be afraid to ask for reassignment if that's what you need. Okay.
Yep. I think that's a great point, Allison. Definitely. So just a little of our 2024 data that I wanted to share. Just kind of talks about who are we serving. Lifelong learning is our biggest program at the moment. Through 2025, 2024 and 2025, our Employment Innovation School percentages have grown pretty dramatically as we have HIPsters learning about what are those options for employment services and skill building. We serve about 357 hipsters a day through our various programs again. We have a pretty even split male to female. Like I said before, if you look at the diagnosis, we serve obviously individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We serve a pretty high population of autism and Down syndrome as well. I know there were some questions about kind of different diagnoses that we serve. We have a couple of hundred corporate volunteers that come through and serve with us every year that we're really excited about. And we have many corporate partnerships that we are continuing to grow, not just to support the organization, but to really build those connections, especially as we're talking about employment. We know that we need those purposeful connections with our corporate partners that are in Texas, so that when our after our hipsters have gone through our employment innovation school, they've got those skills, that we have corporations that we have relationships with in order to work on job placement. We know that that's difficult. That's not going to be a surprise to anyone, but we are committed and our corporate partners are committed to competitive integrated employment. And we are continuing to build, to do education and build those relationships with corporate partners.
I just wanted to say one more thing here, Shelley, on this. What she was saying of like you can ask that you can have your case moved or basically moved to My Possibilities. They have other vendors. The vendor has to be contracted with them. So that means that My Possibilities already is. So if you've tried the VR route directly with their way and it's not working, maybe having that reassignment, it's a whole fresh set of eyes and people that you're working with. And if their whole mission is that's what they're doing, then you may have more success as well.
Yeah. And, you know, that's something that if you have other questions about that, that our career services team can answer those questions, whether you're in our area and you choose to work with us at MP or you're outside of the area, we would be happy for you to reach out and help you answer those questions. We're here to serve the community and happy to do that. Just some ways to engage, if you're in our area, come to an event. North Texas Giving Day is coming up. That's always a very exciting time. Come volunteer with us. Come just take a tour and learn more about MP. We're always looking for new partners and new avenues to support our hipsters, and definitely looking for volunteer opportunities and ways that also our hipsters can give back to the community. So we are open to visits and conversations and learning more about how you may be able to help support us at MP, and also how we can help support you and the community at large.
Do you guys have a high school neurotypical volunteer track? Because I know a lot of high schoolers do a lot of volunteering and stuff like that. Do you guys have that program like available for volunteering?
Through our volunteer program, yes, we do partner with high schools and kind of high school age organizations, whether it's attached to a specific school or not. We do engage with those organizations to have them come out to MP to volunteer with us. We've taken hipsters to some events at some of the high schools around us to participate in those areas. So just as another way to build connection with the community, for sure.
Very good.
Yeah. So this is my information. Again, please feel free to reach out. You can reach out to me. If I'm not the right person to answer your question, I certainly can connect you to the right person. Our address, our physical location address is there, as well as our website. I encourage you to, again, visit our website, take a look, schedule a tour, whether you're looking for kind of an immediate program for your individual, or you just want to see kind of what are the options for when that time comes. We would love to meet with you, have conversation, and give you a tour of our amazing campus.
We had a question, do you partner with service animal providers or could hipsters aid in training their own animals?
We haven't done that to this point, but that's an interesting thought for sure. As a form of implement, we have had some hipsters that have worked and gotten jobs at some local animal shelters, some kind of dog kennels, some things like that in the area, but nothing kind of specific around service animal providers. Yeah.
For sure. Okay, well, thank you for that. So
Yeah.
what I would say is call and schedule a tour and go check it out. It's so awesome. I felt like a little kid, like looking all around, like I'm just it's just so big and awesome and you can feel the positive energy there, like right when you walk in the door. It's just from the front reception to just walking around. It's definitely cool what you guys have built. So I am so glad that you talked to us more about the programs and what you guys are doing. I encourage everybody to go take a tour and check it out. Everybody is going to get a copy of today's slides and a link to the recording. It will have a link for our upcoming webinars in the future that you can register for. And we always offer free personalized consultations. So if you had more questions that didn't get answered, certainly reach out to Shelley. They'll be happy to have a one-on-one conversation. One thing we didn't answer, and I do want you to give us a range. I know you can't pinpoint because I know some kids go 1 day a week and some days 5 days a week and some three. But can you give us a range of, I mean, I understand that TWC might pay for this. I understand
Sure.
waiver might pay for this, but could you give us a range of like average cost if a family was paying out of pocket for this, say their kids going 3 days a week, what, can you just give us a range?
Yeah. You're probably looking at ooh, 150, $200, obviously, again, depending on days of the week, times during the day. We have, some hipsters are with us for 10 hours a day, those days, some 6 hours a day. Some are waiver funding for part of their day and then private pay for the other part of the day. You can do that as well. There's lots of variation there. But I would say a couple $100 a week-ish. But really, if you reached out to our admissions team and had a conversation with them about your specific situation, then they would be able to give you much more specific range in terms of pricing.
Okay, that's perfect. And I think part of it you won't even know until you tour and you kind of get a
For
feel
sure.
what your kid might fit into and it's how many days you might want to be there and kind of what you're thinking about for sure. So
Definitely.
this QR code will take you guys to a calendar for a free personalized consultation. We're always happy to help and learn a little bit more about kind of where you've been, where you're going, and what you need help with. We're never here to rain on any good planning that you've already done. Any steps that you've taken along the way are important steps, and it is a journey. It's one step at a time, and so we're happy to help you and kind of pick up where you left off. Some people have done a lot, some people have done nothing, and some people have done some and then it got set on the shelf and we wanted to pick back up and we haven't. So wherever you are, we can meet you. Sometimes it's just a second opinion or just a double check, a reassurance. I think, there's a lot of reassurance out there of, do I have this set up right? I want to just make sure that I don't mess this up. We hear that. We hear that every single week. So we can definitely help you. Well, it has certainly been my pleasure being here with you and for you guys to talk more about my possibilities. You guys are awesome. We love what you're doing. And thank you everyone for being here today. And just as a reminder, you are going to get an email later with a link to the recording and a copy of today's slides. So you'll have all of Shelley's contact information and how to get in touch with my possibilities. So thanks everyone. And I hope you guys have a great afternoon. Take care.
Thank you, Allison.
Bye
Thanks,
now.
everybody. Bye-bye.